All right. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. This is the Remodeling Success Podcast. My name is Brooks Burnett, owner of Remodel Reach Marketing. This is the show where we interview highly successful remodeling contractors and just learn about them, learn about their story, and ask them for their insights on the industry. And so today I'm very excited to have a great guest today. We have Peter Ranney from Ranney Blair. Uh, and he is going to share his insights on the remodeling industry and share his story. And so we're happy to have you on here today, Peter.
Thank you for having me. Yeah. And also don't forget we have a third partner, so it's Rainy Blair Weidmann now,
Oh, okay,
as
awesome.
of last September.
Awesome. I have seen that on your logo, but wasn't quite sure. So that's awesome though. Okay, well, great. I haven't met them yet. Hopefully I'll meet them sometime soon at one of the NARI
Yeah.
events.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, awesome. Well, so Peter, go ahead and just kind of dive into to who you guys are, what y'all do. Kind of give us the lay of the land here about your business.
Yeah, we're a design build firm. We didn't start that way. We started as strictly a construction company. So really working with other designers and just trying to, it's any business when you start, just kind of bootstrapping, doing whatever you can, taking all kinds of jobs that were going to put some revenue and some cash flow in. But Scott and I, when we started our business, really preceding that, my wife and I started a nonprofit in 2012, and it was a renovation type nonprofit. We're still doing it today, Sunshine Rain Day. We've done almost 250 projects to date, and we remodel homes for children with special needs. And through that, people were asking me, because I still had a full-time job. We're trying to launch the nonprofit. I was an accountant, actually. I went to Clemson, got an accounting degree. But through the nonprofit, people were asking, can you do my kitchen, my basement, my bathroom, whatever? And I didn't have the capacity. So I met Scott playing actually slow pitch softball. We were playing in a co-ed league. And his then girlfriend or fiance, I guess, she was on the list. She was like a 4-year starter at Georgia Tech. So like, well, are you available? She's like, yeah, okay, great. You're on my team. So she was a really good player, but met Scott through that, and then just through friendship, like, hey, I think there's an opportunity here. Not really sure exactly what it looks like or what we can do, but I know remodeling, and it can't be that hard, right? So here we are. So we in 2014, 15, started Raining Blair. That's when I got my license, and kind of we were trying to build the business, and really once again just going back to we're just taking any job, building HVAC fences, building little benches and kind of mudroom areas, and really just our focus from the very beginning was like providing the best client experience possible. And really through that, we started working with different designers, and they were giving us really nice projects, really good kitchens, really good bathrooms, and really just built up, our kind of portfolio through that. And just over the years, we've just kind of transitioned to a design build firm, probably like most companies, as you kind of mature through your business. But we just realized we could provide even a higher level of experience by bringing the design in house and really bringing those two together to become a true turnkey design build remodeler. So now we have a showroom, we have designers in house, we have an estimator, which is really nice because neither me or Scott really enjoy estimating. So it's nice to kind of piece out the things that we aren't good at and the things that other people are good at, because there are people that are really good at things that you don't like, and that's been an important kind of key for us to find those people to help us grow our business.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Wow, so that's a great story, man. That's quite a story. So started off in a completely different field, right? In accounting. That's interesting. And so
Right.
trying to do accounting and had the nonprofit on the side and said, "Hey, we might need some help," right? And so that's when you kind of started thinking about a partnership and finding the right guy. And Scott, what's a little bit about his background? Was he always in the construction industry?
No, he went to Georgia Tech. He played football there. He was a kicker. His degree I think was in finance or kind of business administration type thing.
Mhm.
So he didn't really have like construct any kind of like formal construction experience. My dad was a contractor, so I kind of grew up in the industry. And, as much as I'd love to say when I was 15 years old, I was going to work every day trying to soak up everything. That wasn't the case. I usually didn't want to be there. My dad's dragging me out of bed. You're coming to work today.
Right.
But, you just kind of pick things up. And he had a natural tendency. He's obviously like a smart guy. Went to Georgia Tech. You don't go to Georgia Tech if you're not kind of upper end of the smarter people. But he just had a knack for business, a knack for construction. I mean, we had a addition kind of early on in our business, and both of us were kind of like wary, but he dove in just head first. And I mean, he was taking the code book out there every day. I mean, really just getting immersed into the business. So like with any partnership, you got to have, you know, things that I'm not strong at or am strong at, we kind of balance each other, and it's been a good relationship. And now we have a third partner.
Mhm.
So we're still trying to figure out the balance of that because, he ran his business, for close to 30 years, and now he's coming into kind of, we're blending together. So we're a bit younger, so there's a lot of transition there as far as who's in charge, who's running this part, who's running that part. But it's
Mhm.
it's been great. I mean, the core focus of Ranney Blair, now Rand Blair Weidmann, has always been how to provide a really great client experience. Because if you can do that, I mean, yes, we want to make money, and that's all important, everything. But if you can provide your clients with an awesome experience, everything else will take care of itself. So Scott's always been a believer in that, and that's really like a core of our success too.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and we'll jump into the client experience here, and kind of get some specifics a little bit later. But I wanted to go back to, just more of the idea of partnering up. Like I speak with remodelers all the time that just share with me that they're spent.
Yeah,
They do almost everything. They're doing the estimating, they're selling, they're their number one salesman and all that. And so, some of the remodelers that I've seen really be able to go to that next step are the ones that are able to not necessarily partner with somebody, but just delegate, right? And just
yeah,
kind of like what you were saying with having a good team that you can trust, and you have those estimators, those designers, those people that can take those jobs off of your plate. Those are the ones that are really able to grow and take a step back from working in the business. And the phrase working, instead of working in the business, you're working on the business, right? And
right.
so is that something similar that y'all found?
Oh, for sure. I mean, having a partnership, and it, like once again from the beginning, we've really focused on. I mean, it really when we first started, we are both doing everything, kind of the typical. I mean, let's face it, remodelers at heart, we are fixers, right? That's what we are. That's what we're good at. We like fixing things, whether it be homes or. So we kind of transitioned that whole fixer mentality into, well, I can do everything in my business, and it's whatever you want your business to be. So if that's what you want it to be, that's fine, right? But you're going to hit ceilings no matter what level you try to work at. But it's once we figured out, like, okay, we're both project managing, we're both selling, we're both estimating. Let's try to like split this up a little bit. So I took kind of the front part, the sales, design, kind of the estimating piece. He took kind of the back end production. And so, to your point, whether it's a partnership, and I know there's a lot of frowning on partnerships and everything, but a good partnerships can work really well. Yeah, and so whether it be a partnership or you hire staff or you have kind of a general manager or someone, you got to have people you can trust, no matter what level. You have people you can trust and really start going the same direction. And that direction, you got to figure out your core values and like what's your why, once again, profit, money, all that's great, but that's not for me, a real like why reason. It's kind of like a, a benefit of what we're doing because we all have to make a living somehow. But certainly, I've enjoyed a lot of success in the partnership that we've had in growing Ranney Blair, and you know having the partnership, having the team.
Mhm.
It's all been we've we've had bad hires, made bad decisions. Right, we trust our intuition. We go the wrong way, but that's part of the learning experience. It's rewarding, it's fun, but as long as you're focusing on kind of your core, what you're there for,
Mhm.
you'll find your way back.
Right, right. Yeah, and so you've given us a really good insight into your business, kind of touched a lot of different points here that I wanted to talk about. But let's kind of go into your services. So what are the main services that you guys provide? Are y'all still kind of taking on well, I guess you guys aren't taking on any project that comes along. Y'all kind of progressed into, being a little bit more choosy maybe, right? And so kind of give us a lay of the land on your services that you guys are offering right now.
Yeah, so we're strictly residential remodeling. So we don't dabble in any commercial or really new builds. I mean, we would entertain it with the right client, custom build type situation. But primarily, we're doing larger scale projects, so multi-room. So certainly kitchens, bathroom, basements, whole homes, and additions. Those are kind of the five main kind of services we provide.
Mhm.
The clients that we really target are in our business remodeling, and certainly the last few years, we've been accused of kind of being order takers. You know, people call, the phone just ringing off the hook, and you're just, okay, what do you want? Like, well, I'll just come do that project. But what we really focus on as a design build business now is trying to understand the root of the problem for the client, not necessarily the solution, because certainly in the first part of a relationship with a prospect or a client, we'll still try and engage each other, but really trying to understand what are your issues. Like let us and our team bring solutions. So the clients that we really target are ones that are open to options. So they come with plans or come with like a very they already have a solution. That's great, but we may not be the best fit for you. You may be just looking for a construction firm, right? They just can execute it and build it. But if
Mhm.
you're open to options and exploring really custom creative solutions, we have a really talented design team. We present 3 designs to all of our clients as we start. So we get a real big variety of what are the possibilities. Let's just go crazy on a few plans. I mean, there's always a budget, right? Everybody has a budget. I'm not saying our clients don't have budgets, but typically most people's budgets, we all experience this personally. Your budget, what you want, usually there's like a middle ground there to meet somewhere.
Mhm.
But it's really about exploring things that they may never thought about before.
Mhm. Mhm. And so kind of going back to what you were saying about the client experience, that sounds like something that they can really get into and, enjoy. If y'all are coming with like saying, "Hey, let's think outside the box a little bit." Here are multiple designs that we've created, and what do you like about this one? What are your ideas here? And I feel like that can be, something that sets you guys apart from a lot of other remodeling contractors that just say, well, we can do this and here's your price, kind of thing. So go into a little bit more about your client experience that you've mentioned before, about just crafting this kind of custom customer experience for you guys.
Yeah, certainly overall, we want to make it really easy for the client to buy from us. So kind of every stage, not trying to tax them on whether it be schedule a meeting or, that if they call the office, making sure a person answers the phone, responding quickly to any communication, whether it be, email or phone or texting. The texting, that's another one, right? Like, um, we'll text our clients if that's just really trying to adapt. Everybody wants to communicate slightly different. They want to be communicated to slightly differently. So really adapting that, but really from the our approach is different than a lot of other remodelers, and it's trying to like tap into everybody. There's so much input, right? You got HGTV, you got Pinterest, you got Houzz, you got all the social media. People are, especially when they're kind of in the process of thinking about remodeling. All the stuff that goes into all the things that are fed to your social medias. So there's a lot of input, and people, they have a hard time figuring out. Okay, I like these things. How do I actually implement that into my house? And then certainly apply that against the discretionary money I have to spend to that. So that's really kind of the middle ground of the experience that we want to bring to the client. Because if you're with you go to a prospect, the first visit, you're there for 45 minutes, maybe an hour and a half, or some variation of that. The first part of it's all the niceties, nice to meet you, what's your name, what's your dog's name, what's your kid's name, all that good stuff. And then you're providing like a number. It's like, what are we building? You
Hmm.
know, so you have an idea of what your scope is. The customer has an idea of what their scope is, and that's where we saw problems early on in our business. Is like, well, we didn't think that. So that's part of the experience. Is let's design things together in a really collaborative process. Part of our internal process that we do is it's a French word, it's called a charrette, but it's basically a meeting of the minds, more or less. But as part of what we describe to the client is, hey, our designers are going to, they're going to do, we're always going to present three designs. So they're going to come up with one, two, or maybe the third, but we're always going to meet as a team. So you're literally getting the entire team, whoever, is part of that charrette, and you're getting the best of the company. And because, the estimator may have a good idea, a project manager may come with a charrette and they have a good idea to apply to the project. So it's a very the experience for the customers. Hey, let's explore what is possible here, because ultimately we may revert to something that is a simple project, or that's fine. Let's expand the mind a little bit, or expand the possibilities of the project. And certainly all the simple stuff is usually like the hardest thing to execute. Whether it just be answering any kind of communication, the phone, text, appropriately.
Hmm.
um, I think that these things like the making it easy for the client, like that's if and if we can always just think, okay, how does this process, this thing in our business, how does the client view it? How does it affect the client experience, good or bad? And if you can run everything through that lens, because certainly you got to have some things that are as part of your process. They got to sign a contract, right? That might be, but everything can be viewed as how does this affect the client experience. As you start really like adapting your mindset to that, you really start going, well, that's actually not, like we had a conversation literally yesterday about selections. And one part of our business, they were like, they should sign everything. They should sign off on every selection for liability, CYA, and all this. Like, yeah, but what does it matter if they sign off on they want a gold faucet, but they really wanted the silver faucet, and then they go, well, I wanted the silver. What do we? Oh, you signed it. So it's
Hmm.
kind of like, let's give the clients a little grace and just kind of that experience. Like so that was a good test for us. Like we're still trying to figure out all of our, kind of as you iterate your processes, but we ran it through the lens of how does this affect the client? We ultimately decided having to sign off on 50 selections is not a good experience. So let's try to figure out another way to present it to them where it provides a good experience for them.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, that collaborative process, like you mentioned, where everyone's coming together, including the prospect, that I feel like that is just going to be just so much better of an experience for the client. And then, like you're mentioning, remodeling can be a very long process, right? And
Yeah.
so making that experience as good and as seamless as possible is going to be ideal for you and for the client, right? Because they're the ones who have you guys in their homes. And and so I feel like y'all are definitely, it sounds like y'all are really on the right track to figuring all of that out. And it's good that y'all are always learning and always trying to adapt. I feel like some remodelers that I speak with, and they're very hesitant to to changing either their style or their the way they do things. And so it's great that y'all are always trying to learn and trying to figure out how can we make our process better, more seamless, smoother for the customer and for y'all, right? And
Yeah.
so yeah.
Well,
And
it's being a professional, right? We are professionals. Our industry has been viewed kind of, we're blue collar. I'm not saying we're not, but it's like we're not like the upper tiers of like your doctors, lawyers, engineers, all that. It's like, but we are, right?
right.
If you truly boil it down, like we're part of the three main basics parts of life, like food, shelter, water. Shelter is in that mix, right? And we're improving people's structures. Yeah, we're in first world problems, all that good stuff. But it's like still, we're improving people's spaces. I was actually out in downtown Woodstock a couple weeks ago, ran into a client and hadn't seen them for years. And they had young children. Now they're, their kids are 14, 15, 16 or whatever. And the dad was like, oh, hey, meet our contractor. This is Peter. He's the one who did our kitchen. And it's like, and the kid was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Like we can actually, it's like we change your space. We're just thinking, oh, we put some new cabinets, took a wall out, whatever. Let's move on to the next one. It's like
Hmm.
that affected the way they interact as a family. So we are professionals. We should be viewed as professionals, but we have to first view ourselves as a professional. So the way we dress, tuck shirts in. We at the office here, most of us wear collared shirts. We
Hmm.
try to dress the same way we want to be viewed. So
Hmm.
that's an important part of our industry too. Is hey, remodelers, you're professionals. Even the language that we use, not necessarily. I don't really advocate swearing anyway, but it's like changing our nomenclature, the way we even speak. Like we use retainers as one of our initial things. Well, that's not a typical remodeling word, but if you think about the clients that we work with, retainers are very in their everyday. Where they have retainers with their accountants and their lawyers and other professionals they work with. So let's play on the same level as they are.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and um, that's one thing that I do hear a lot of too on in some of our previous podcast interviews is that professionalism piece. Showing up on time when an estimate's scheduled. You make sure you're there on time and you have a good attitude. And I've heard horror stories from some people about their handyman or their remodeler, and just kind of rudeness and just things like that. And it's like things that are so easy to fix, but
Right.
make so much difference, and it just kind of it puts off this feeling and this attitude toward the business as a whole, right from the start. And so that's
Well, think
good.
about too. It's like the experience where most of us in this business are men, and typically we're meeting with the woman. The wife's driving the project, so we show up. The man's not in the house, so you're there alone with the woman. It's like you got to make her feel comfortable to where she can even describe the project. So it's like, we got to show up in a professional way where they can. You got to build trust, but it's like, well, start in the right direction. Take your shoes off when you walk in the house. Yes, I know you got it. Once we start demoing, it's gonna be dirty and dusty and all that, but still, it's a nice gesture to show like we respect your house, and we're going to start by taking our shoes off when
Hmm.
we even step the first time into your space.
Right. Right. Yeah, the little things, right?
Yep,
Yeah,
that's what it's
just taking
about.
those little. Yeah, right. So good, man. So let's dive into the types of clients that you guys get currently, the types of clients that you want. What are some, I don't know if you guys have any type of deal breaker when it comes to vetting or pre-qualifying your leads. I know most remodelers do, if someone comes in saying, "Hey, I want, this home edition for $5,000 and I want it done in 2 weeks," like obviously that's a no, right?
Yeah.
But some remodelers I've spoken with, have some other types of deal breakers, like, you know, um, it could really vary. So, do y'all have, what does your ideal customer look like?
Well, certainly our ideal customer, the ones that we are getting, and I would say that their ideal is, it's typically they're college educated. Their home values we're seeing, which surprised me, is higher than I anticipated. But we kind of look back through our data, it's around like 950 or 960 for their home value. So there's we're dealing with people that, I know the home prices have kind of like, it's kind of, I'm not sure exactly what the truth is around that, but
Mm-hmm.
just under $1 million. Um, what I found is our marketing is, as a marketing guy, right? It's like we've worked hard on marketing and marketing to the people we want, but also marketing to people that we don't want. So I think we've done like a good job of kind of like when people look at our website or look at our socials, if they're not a fit, like they they might call, and that's okay. We're still going to go back to the experience. Someone calls and it's kind of like, oh, I've $10,000 on a demo. It's like, we're not just going to, slam the phone. It's like, we'll try to educate them, right? So once again, it goes back to the experience. So even if you're not our customer, let's provide them. They can leave and go, hey, that Blair Weidmann, it's not a fit for me, but I still left with a good experience. But there's not really like a deal breaker. I think the biggest thing that we always shoot for, I mean, certainly as you're talking to people, right? It's like whether it be out of our service area or just a project that's not really a good fit for us as far as size or whatever. Those are kind of the simple ones. But beyond that, it's really let's have a conversation because most people, you know, they're uneducated, right? Or miseducated, really, probably more is the appropriate way to put it. HGTV is great because it inspires, but it's like those numbers aren't even close to reality. So a lot of it is they may call and it's like they, what we find is like they think they're trying to say the right things to us. When in reality, it's like let's try to unwind all this and let's get to like a conversation about if we can get to agreement on, hey, are you in agreement that well, we can explore options with you? Okay, yes or no. Right? If they're like, no, I know exactly what I want. Okay, well, obviously it's probably not a good fit for us. We're here to explore options.
Mm-hmm.
And then secondary to that, we don't always talk about budget up front because it's not always appropriate to. It's kind of one of those things where if it comes up, we bring it up, but if we bring up like, hey, okay, you're looking at a kitchen, hey, okay, typical kitchen for us is between this range, and they're like, oh, there's no way, right? Once again, it's unwinding a conversation. So we'll talk to a prospect for 30, 45 minutes, if as the conversation unwinds, and sometimes they leave and go, okay, I've been informed now. I understand I got to spend more money. Um, we know that there's more money to spend. Not we're trying to exploit them in any way or that like that, but it's like oh, if I tell them, my budget's $300,000, they're going to like max out my budget. So it's really trying to just build trust through the conversation. But there's not like any kind of immediate things other than the service area, the type of service that we're providing. There's once again, it's we try to really have every conversation as we're here to help them. If we can work with them, great. But if not, that's fine too. There's a lot of other good companies out there that do things different than we do that might be able to serve them better.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really like that servant mentality of let's try to help the person calling.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so it sounds like y'all really try to do your pre-qualification and like all that pre-vetting stuff through conversations. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. Phone call. We actually recently just put on our website where they can schedule either a phone call or a video call. And we've actually had a pretty good hit rate on that. Only a couple have actually converted, but relative to people calling in, it's the same kind of probably similar ratio. But once
Mm-hmm.
again, just try providing opportunities because you fill out a website, a web form, all of us have, and it's like goes into like a black hole of the internet. You never hear back. So once again, it's like if you can schedule time, that's a little bit better too for the customer, for the prospect. But yeah, we try to really, it's trying to like kickstart the conversation and really, what are they looking for? Because if they're not looking for what we offer, there's no point to even, oh, here's our 5-step process. Like, who cares? They're not, it doesn't matter if they're never going to be our customer.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of like a conversation. We don't have like a real strict script that we follow. Obviously, there's certain things we want to be able to gather, but it's really, let's just weave through every conversation is going to be a little bit different. And, just try to understand what they're looking for and if we can help them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it seems like that service mentality, that here to help first, right, and to educate. It seems like that's really the way to go. Instead of being pushy or like overly salesy, and things like that.
Yeah,
It seems like, yeah. Have y'all had an experience with like trying to be, have y'all tried to do any type of like sales or anything like that? I mean, you're always selling, right? But
right.
what have y'all kind of found the best way to sign up, kind of ask for the project and move things forward?
I think the biggest thing early on, we would, whatever the process was, like once we got to like the numbers portion of it, we would just like send the email or whatever, like, it's the send and pray method, where it's like, oh, let's pray, like something comes back and they sign. Now it's we're going to have those conversations and meetings in person. We're going to present certain things in person. So it's because you present numbers, there's always going to be questions, right? We're typically always going to be higher than what they want to spend. Doesn't matter relative to our competition, because I think we're pretty in line with the people that we compete against. But
Mhm.
I'd say that's like the biggest thing is like having the hard conversations earlier, but in person too when you present certain things.
You know, I agree, and like, being there to address any concerns, right? And
Yeah,
this is something that I've recently started doing in my business. Completely different industry, but it's instead of just giving the price and just saying, okay, well, I'll send you an email, or we'll follow up soon and things like that. But really trying to say, okay, what are your thoughts? What are your objections? And being able to address those face to face and in conversation is a huge driver of moving it forward, right?
yeah, for sure. We generally follow like the Sandler method, so you're trying to get agreement. The the hardest, probably the biggest part that we see kind of like that, you know, weird ask for the sales, like at the project development piece, because it's still a little bit early in the relationship. So we try to prep, at the next meeting, we're going to do this, this, and this. And I don't remember exactly, it depends how we phrase it, but it's like essentially kind of like having the assumed sale, like we're going to present this, this, and this, and you're going to, that's the time that you would sign the project development agreement or not.
Mm.
So it's trying to prep them for this is what's going to happen next. And
Right.
obviously, at some point, you just got to be direct. I mean, direct, polite. Obviously not be abrasive and stuff like that. But just got to hit it straight. I think people appreciate that way more than the kind of There's no pressure. There's none of that. It's kind of like you see what we're about. You see what we do. You see relative to the other projects. Kind of where we're going to land on your budget. Do you want to proceed or not?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and have y'all seen just great improvement as y'all have kind of developed those and kind of implemented those strategies?
We have. I mean, that's a big part of what Dan Weidmann brought to our business is he had a really strong kind of initial sales process that really took them through the stages that allowed them to digest kind of because you're trying to throw a lot at them. Like, here's how we're going to design your project. Here's how we're going to build it. Here's all the little micro steps of everything else. It's like it's a lot. So he's really brought that piece to our business that really elevated the front part and really kind of setting those meetings up. One thing, it's kind of a little off the topic here, but it's kind of funny. When we first started working with him, it's like, okay, we would measure stuff and do all the stuff at the first meeting. He's like, no, we don't do that. Like, because what are we measuring? We don't even know the scope yet. It's like, so that's kind of how we're a little different too, is we don't take tape measures to the first appointments. I mean, I'm in khaki pants. I don't even bring it. I have a tape measure in my car, but it's like, I don't even have a belt to, put my tape measure on. We don't take pictures of the first visit, but once again, it's trying to present ourselves a little differently. But once again, now the focus is on the conversation with the client about the project, not, let me measure every nook and cranny. We don't even know if we're going to work with you yet,
Hmm.
or if it's a good fit for either of us. So let's kind of like work through the process, and next time they come to the office, once again, continue the conversation. So he's brought up really a nice kind of elevated piece to how we do, because we already have a nice showroom. We have a really strong kind of production process. So I think we're really equally yoked now, kind of like in the, if you split the business into like the sales piece and like the production piece, they kind of mirror up nice. So I was thinking about actually yesterday, I was like, how can we really show clients more how we build projects, because that also is different. Like we're really good on timelines, keeping the jobs clean and neat. It's all the things like homeowners don't realize. They're like, well, this guy's this much cheaper. It's like, well, yeah, but he's not going to be there for 3 weeks in a row, and or all the little things that people don't really think about.
Yeah, yeah. Always trying to find those differentiators, right?
Yep.
So, all right, well, good, man. So, I want to kind of switch gears here. We're getting a lot of great stuff, man. You're sharing a lot of really, really good insights, and I'm definitely learning a lot, and I'm sure our viewers are learning a lot as well. So, let's move into kind of how you're bringing in leads currently. So, this could be digital, this could be, referral based, or you know, billboards. So what are y'all what's kind of y'all's main mover when it comes to generating leads right now?
Well, so Dan and his business, so we came together in September of 2023. His business previously is really strong on referrals, so he didn't do a lot of active like digital or social or SEO. Not and so it was a very strong referral business where we were very active on new client acquisition. So we were more willing to spend money on SEO and a little bit play around like different advertising. Right now, we've kind of brought this together. Referral business obviously always is very strong.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the number one desired thing in in our industry because it's a lot easier sale for us typically. But what we've still leaned into is really strong SEO and really strong website. Now, SEO is kind of like a big muddled thing, and honestly, I don't really fully understand like the ins and outs of everything. But websites too. It's like as I've learned over the years, there's a lot of vanity to websites, and that's great. But there's got to be that's where like the SEO plays in, but also like the emotional piece of like why someone would remodel with you and try and like really trying to take what we do on our website through words and pictures and have the prospect like put themselves in that where it's like, oh, that could be my kitchen, that could be my bathroom, right? And really try pull that emotional because people are spending emotional money with us, right? The money doesn't make sense if you put it on a spreadsheet, right? Like that's not why people do remodeling at the with the projects that we're doing. So you got to pull out the emotional part of it. But so we're still leaning pretty big in SEO. One of the things that Dan did that was pretty interesting is, I mean, of course we do like ease newsletters stuff like that, but he would still send out like a physical newsletter, and
Mm-hmm.
it's we never did that, right? It's like, no, we're new age, we're digital, we're all this. It's like the old stuff still works, like sending out physical copies of things, like it's if it's nicely done and it's don't I think a lot of people we too get stuck on it's got to be perfect, and it's like just throw something out there, just and then you can fix it and update it, and okay, this thing doesn't work, right? That's kind of ugly. Let's change that, right? You can modify all that, but leaning back into like the old school stuff, we're just sending out some, whether it be kind of door hangers. We're doing a physical. It's like I guess a 4 page, front back,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, 4 page kind of newsletter. And so it's focusing on a project. So once again, it's not like, oh, look at this beautiful kitchen. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's a beautiful kitchen. But like, what was their problem? What was that client's problem? What was the solution that was brought to that? Like, what are the benefits? What are the key features? So once again, like really drawing in, like, oh, that's my problem. Like that's the exact same problem I have.
Mm-hmm.
They already have a solution to that. So that's what our whole physical newsletter is all about.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny, it's like it's like the new you, you know 10 years ago, nobody cared about mail, and mail is like, physical stuff is like so old and like, oh, it's so outdated. But now there's such an overabundance of digital and online stuff that people are like, hey, look, it's a a letter in the mail,
Yeah,
awesome, so like making a circle, right? And
everything
so
comes
that's
back.
yeah, right,
Well,
yeah.
also like branding, like it's the guy we merged with, I'd tell people, hey, this we consolidated with, and they're like, no, never heard of him, and he'd been in business in our town for 30 years. So branding is, you know, it's we can get marketing's hard, right? Because you're like, oh, I spent this money and I don't know exactly what my return was, or maybe my return wasn't that great,
Hmm.
for the metrics you're tracking. But branding is a big part of what marketing is, and brand awareness. I mean, it's for Ranney and Blair. I mean, we have two vans, and people will tell me all the time. I see your trucks and vans everywhere. It's like, well, we have two of them. It's just like the the brand builds. I can't remember the name of the effect, but it's like when you're looking for, you're about to buy a new car, and it's like, oh, I'm looking for a silver pickup truck, and then you all of a sudden start seeing silver pickup trucks
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
that same kind of deal, right? Where the brand, like, really focus on the brand, and it's okay to spend money where it's like, oh, I spent money on a outfield advertisement for a little league or something.
Mm-hmm.
You may not get a lick of work off that, but it may be maybe part of your brand strategy. Like, have a nice logo, that matches your brand. So
Right.
don't
Right.
ignore that part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of going back to what you were saying here about your new partner, with like he focused on referrals and that's where most of his business came from, but his brand was not very widely known. And so, you know, I what I always tell my clients and anyone who's interested and anyone who's willing to listen, I always tell them you need to do both, right? Like referrals, like you said, are the bread and butter of most remodeling businesses, but the ones that I see that have gone above and beyond and really grown their business to a significant degree, they're ones who prioritize both, right? They bring in the referrals and they love their referrals and they try to get as many referrals as possible, but they don't neglect that branding like you were mentioning, and that their website and some of the other necessities and other advertising opportunities. And so it sounds like that's kind of y'all's approach, and y'all are really trying to do both, right?
When we redid our logo early on, we had like the hammers, kind of the crossed hammers, whatever. It was cool. We
Mm-hmm.
liked it. And the actually Scott's neighbor was like a marketing guy, so he's like, hey, let's, so he redid the logo and he showed our logo against other brands, and it was an interesting exercise. He's like, kind of like upper end brands, and you're looking at our logos like that looks like complete trash relative. You don't realize like the fonts and the styling and the spacing and like all that matters. So when we were redoing our logo, he did our new logo
Mm-hmm.
and compared it to these kind of like high end brands. Once again, we're buying, women are buying from us. So, I'm not trying to disparage women because, I love my wife and my mom and all that good stuff. But
Yeah.
it's like, right, brands matter to people. It's like, you take a brown purse and put a Louis Vuitton logo on it. It's like, oh yeah, this is worth way more money now. But like when we saw our logo across these other brands, it was like that, like it feels elevated. And people, you're spending big money on these remodels, like people want to feel like, oh, I can trust this person. They're not going to run away. Like, all that good, all the things that go into like the piece of the emotional side of the remodeling. You can't like put on, like I spent $500 on my new logo, and that's, I got a whatever return on that.
Mm-hmm.
So, don't always max up like, the marketing spend, but yeah, also maybe not hire, just, go a little above like a Fiverr for your new logo, right? Try to
Yeah.
put a little more thought into it than just like hammers like
Right.
we had. Nothing
Right.
against
Well,
hammers.
yeah, no, I mean, that's an interesting point, because most remodelers, a lot of them are very good at doing the work and doing the job and, fixing things like you're mentioning, and so that's kind of where their mindset is, right? Their mind is on, here's our work speaks for itself, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so in their logo, they might have, saw blades and, different tools and things like that. But like you're mentioning, you got to kind of speak to speak to the customer rather than
Yeah. Does
you
a
know
does a woman want to look at saw blades and hammers? Like, oh, this guy's coming into my house. Like, this might be like a Friday the 13th something.
yeah.
It's like,
Right. Right. Yeah, so all right, well, this has been really good, man. And you've given us just some incredible insight, and just sharing how y'all have grown and really learned just what's working and trial and error, like you were saying, getting things out there and trying things out, not getting that, what's it called, the analysis paralysis, right? Just
yeah.
getting things out there and trying things. So is there anything you would like to share for, maybe up and coming remodelers or remodelers who might be, struggling to double their income and, maybe reach that goal. Do you have any other types of nuggets of information or wisdom that you could share for people like that?
I mean, there's definitely, a lot of things to focus on. I mean, obviously knowing your numbers is really, really important because, if you're going to sell jobs, like you might as well make sure you're going to make money on them. But, other than that, like I could say, like once you start building any kind of team, whether, one, two people, more people, what we found like really strong success in is we were loosely following the EOS system, Entrepreneur Operating System. And the parts that we took out of that is really strict meeting structure and meeting integrity, really being right. Because if you have, like, for example, we have a team meeting every Tuesday at 11:30, right? And it's pretty much known the meeting, it starts on time and it ends on time. And there's very few excuses why someone can't be at the meeting. Okay, if they're on vacation, obviously you can't come. But it's having like meeting integrity to where you, and certainly within the meeting, having structure to get things accomplished. And what we really focus on is two major things: is one, issues in the business. So as a team, we'd always discuss the issues of the business and try to, from the issue discussion, have resolution and the solution to implement. But other than that, really what Scott and I had success with also is the rock principle as part of EOS. So it's like a big thing that helps move the business forward. And so we were just like churning through these rocks, and our team was as well. So we were having these like big strides every quarter, whether it be, okay, let's implement our new project management system, or let's, we had production issues. Okay, let's solve these production problems, right? So it's really is a great opportunity to actually be proactive in your problems. But all that came from good meeting structure, and not, well, I don't have time to meet today because, it, everything's always more important, right? You got a client to meet, you got an inspector to meet, you got materials to go pick up or whatever. But, find a good time in your schedule and set your meetings, like, even if it's by yourself, honestly. Like, sit down and prioritize what you want to get done, over the next 90 days.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, great, man. I appreciate you coming in and sharing your experience, your insight, your thoughts with us here. Um, so, is there anything else you would like to share? Any kind of last minute kind of any pressing information that you'd like to share with us before we log off here?
Any pressing information? I don't know. I wish our clients would like sign their contracts. It's like been tough mud in here lately on trying to get deals pushed through. But I don't know. I mean, it's overall, like I think when people, like when I go to these different seminars and stuff, it's like we're always like, oh, look at this company, they're doing this much top line revenue, and they got this team and the fancy trucks, and it's like, build the business that you want, whatever that is. If you want to be the solopreneur, that's great. Like, that's cool. Be that, be the best at that. If you want to build a team and grow your revenue to, whatever, that's fine too. But just find the area that you want to be in, and just and be that. There's no shame or fault in just, I got a good friend in Tallahassee. He's an excellent remodel, and he's very comfortable where he is, and he doesn't do a lot of revenue. He has a good business. He could certainly do way more, but he's like, I like where I am. I got free time. It's like, so build a business that you want.
Yeah. Well, great, Peter. I really appreciate you taking the time to meet with us today. And thank you very much for watching. This has been the Remodeling Success Podcast, and we will see you guys on the next episode. Thank you and have a good one.